I am here with Mike Kazanjian, who teaches philosophy at Triton College. Hi, Mike.
How are you, Sahar?
Thank you. I was hoping to ask you some questions about your ideas. Let's just jump right in. Can you tell me what you're thinking about the flipped seminar? It sounds similar to the flipped classroom. What's a flipped seminar?
A flip seminar, I hope, will be required of all incoming students. Indeed, it will also be required for graduating students, and it would be applicable also as general education for the master's and PhD level, because it will show a unified framework of knowledge, which are universal's underlying disciplines. So the seminar would include maybe no more than 10 students, 5 to 10 students, and they will study my book, Unified Philosophy. And in each session, the each session will be led by what I call a philosophy moderator, not teacher, but moderator, who would be a faculty member. And the student will come in, present a brief paper on either part or the entire chapter that is under discussion. In the seminar, there will be the philosophy moderator, and there will be one or two invited instructors from two different disciplines: economics and physics, literature and theology, any discipline that's taught on campus. The student will read the paper after a brief introduction by the moderator. The moderator will say little and will be able to ask questions of the student regarding the student's paper. Let's say there's a chapter, the second chapter is on object and subject. The moderator will ask, what is objectivity? What is subjectivity that you have written about? Then one of the other invitees, let's say physics, the physics instructor will note that there is Newtonian physics, relativity physics, and quantum physics. Newtonian physics says we do not impact on a planet or its motion. Relativity says there is subjective objectivity. The observer influences the position he sees of a planet or something moving. So it is subject and object there. What does the observer see, and how does the observer impact on the object? Then in quantum theory, we cannot predict a particle's motion because the observer directly impacts on the particle being observed. Now, once the physicist has said this, then the economist, someone from the economy, can come in and say, totally objective economics means that there is regulation. The economics, for example, is a specific manifestation of the general idea of objectivity. So you do what the regulations tell you do. You have no impact on regulations. On the other extreme, laissez-faire economics, what Adam Smith says, free trade means that we depend on the individual to do as the individual sees fit and is rational. Somewhere in between can be a mixed economy of free trade and some regulation. So the moderator, the student, the economist, and the physicist are talking with each other based on the generality of, say, what is objective and I have no impact on it, and what is subjective, where I make the decisions almost, and what is a mixed thing where you have the observer and the general ideas. So what you're doing here is taking economics, physics, philosophy, and you're showing how the three interrelate. And so in that session, um, three different disciplines are talking to each other. So today, how many economists talk to physicists and talk to philosophers? I don't know too many. And this, I think, has been a reason why we have faculty committees composed of people from different departments. That, in essence, is what occurs. In the flipped course, the two co-teachers, I taught a flipped course with a chemist. We are there for the duration of the semester. In the flipped seminar, invitees are always different from different disciplines. The moderator stays the same, the students stay the same, but what we want to do is unify the philosophy, but we also want to unify people from literature, art, computer science, engineering, ethics, the entire gamut of knowledge, people from, let's say, sociology and psychology, people who are very, very different disciplines. That's essentially a summary, I guess.
Thank you. So I'm looking at your book. I see that it's available on Amazon. And when I asked you what the flip seminar would be, you said that students would be reading your book, Unified Philosophy and Interdisciplinary Metaphysics, Ethics, and Liberal Arts that you published in 2020. At least that's what Amazon says. What is it about your book that you think provides the content that every graduating student with a bachelor's or even graduate degree needs? Like, what's in here that students don't find elsewhere?
Um, what I've done is this is the reason. That's a very good question. Why I have the word interdisciplinary and why I have the word liberal arts. When we think of philosophy, we think of something very esoteric. We don't think of other disciplines, even though other disciplines began as philosophy. If you go back to some of our scientists and others, historically they are called natural philosophers, social philosophers, rather than chemists or physicists or mathematicians. My book shows that there are general ideas of which the specific disciplines are specific derivations. My chapters on part and whole, subject and object, the state, ethics, the idea of God and religion, or lack thereof. What is knowing? What is knowing? as a basis of knowing a particular discipline. What is truth? What are truth theories? What is the origin of society? Are we essentially social, or are we only contract people? Do we come together as contractors? And what is prediction? None of the chapters in philosophy, in any philosophy book, are specific disciplinary ideas. They are foundations of disciplines. And therefore, my book is showing that, as I think some anthropologists would say, that we are all the same. We are all the same. We are partly the same and partly specialists. And in liberal arts, we try to avoid two things. We try to avoid over-specialization, or what is called disciplinary silos. People don't talk to each other. Indeed, today, you walk into a discipline department, and it's possible that one economist cannot talk to another one. One sociologist cannot talk to another one. That can't be. On the other hand, we can't be simply liberal arts. We cannot be only philosophy and not be productive. So the disciplines are utilitarian. We produce goods and services. Philosophy produces ideas and puts these, they are pre-utilitarian. They put these into perspective so that people from different disciplines can talk to each other. One of my MDs once told me that when they do surgery or something on a patient, they have an interdisciplinary group where they bring together MDs from different fields to talk with each other. So philosophy enables, the liberal arts enables scholars and specialists to talk with each other. And they will tell you that if you don't talk to each other, the world is not going to produce ethical goods and services.
So I hear that you're working on a periodic table of philosophy. It's supposed to mimic the periodic table of elements, other than you're trying to not unify all the elements in our physical world, but you're trying to unify all of our knowledge. You're trying to bring together all of the disciplines and all of the information and unify them to have a whole that's truly made up of all the parts. And so I was looking at what you shared with me. Is there anywhere on the internet that someone could find the draft of your periodic table of philosophy?
Not as yet, because it's, I would say 80 to 90% done. I don't, it is, I haven't put it on the internet. I will say that there are parallels to what I'm doing. In physics, you have the quark. Murray Gell-Mann saw all of these particles and he said, is there a particle that will bring together all of the particles? And he came up with a quark. And in mathematics, I once asked a mathematician, what is abstract algebra? And he said abstract algebra abstracts parts of algebra, parts of math, and brings them together because it's so abstract. And now category theory is trying to bring together elements of abstract algebra and other fields so that you have very, very abstract attempt to unify knowledge. But by abstract, we shouldn't be scared, because what you're doing is dealing with general ideas which underlie the disciplines, so that economics, physics, chemistry, literature um, are specific manifestations of general philosophical topics, which would be akin to the chemistry table. So in the chemistry table, you have the particles, and then you have the particle, the fundamental particle of the quark.
It's an interesting analogy. So, what do you think most philosophy professors who are specialized and do not bring in interdisciplinary co-teachers, what are they doing? Are they not really providing knowledge because it's only a part of the truth?
Unfortunately, most philosophy books, most philosophy professors think of their discipline as a discipline. Mary Midgley has said philosophy is not one among other disciplines. It is a fundamental seminar. University of Chicago has what we call a committee on social thought. A friend of mine and I were saying the word committee sounds not real sophisticated. They should call it something else. I would call it a seminar, a unifying seminar. And I think when you get into philosophy, this is the problem. Many philosophers have said we've become not abstract, but we've become isolated and removed from the real world. So philosophy asks, for example, when I had philosophy as freshman, I was lucky. I liked philosophy, and the teacher did the wrong thing. He comes up to the students, and we're on the first floor. There's a window looking out to a tree. And he says, does that tree real? Now, that's not something you ask a freshman philosophy student. You don't say, is this real? Are you real? That stays for the fourth year or the third year when you have a more sophisticated outlook on things. I would have started with the different general ideas and said, these ideas, when they become specialized, can branch into the various disciplines. So I think general system theory and some other things like that more or less move along the way I think. You can't have an introductory course in philosophy and ask the student, are you real? How does the student answer that question? Because every time the student answered it, the instructor came back and said, yes, but, yes, but. And I'm thinking, God, I am so lucky that I've been reading up on this and have an idea of where he's coming from. I was lucky he didn't call on me. I just kept my mouth shut. I didn't bother to tell him, what are you doing?
Thank you very much. I appreciate all of your thoughts. Is there anything else you'd like to say about your periodic table of philosophy?
Yes, I foresee it as including the periodic table of chemistry because in my chapter, I think 13, I discuss the book, the relationship of philosophy to all the disciplines. That would mean philosophy's relationship to the periodic chart, to chemistry, um, and to say that the periodic table of universals, as the name implies, I try to keep away from the word philosophy because that scares too many people. I try to keep away from the word philosophy What I try to do in a periodic table is to show that universal ideas bring us together. Universal ideas show that we are social beings, and ergonomics. I say that I have an ergonomic approach to philosophy because the empirical and irrational, the part and the whole, God and person, the state and the individual are dual themes. And in ergonomics, we say that you have the environment, which is shaped by or designed by, depending on the user. So I try to integrate and expand. I'm also expanding ergonomics from Alphonse Chapanis' technology worker interface. I have expanded it to about 30 interfaces.
Well, I'm looking forward to when you publish it so others can see it and interact with it. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate your thoughts.
Thank you.